Welcome back to the Agweek Podcast. I'm your host, Al Winmill. I'm here with Nate Schlief. He's the organizer of the Greater Grand Forks Farm Toy Show. Nate, so happy to have you here. Got to meet you in person this morning, which is always nice after we've talked on the phone and email over the last few years.
You bet. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
This is exciting stuff. It's not usually what we're talking about. We're usually talking about full-scale farm equipment. We're talking a little bit smaller, a little bit more fun.
Yeah, it's a great hobby, something that I've been involved in basically since I was a kid, and it's grown a lot. And we had thought there was an opportunity to have another toy show in North Dakota. Basically, originally there was a show in Minot, one in Langdon, show here in Fargo, and we know that over the years, a lot of the small towns that had them, because of declining population primarily, a lot of the small towns don't host them anymore.
Sure.
The other one I should mention too is the Toy Farmer always has one down in Lemoore every June as well. So those were the four basic ones that we saw in North Dakota. My son had actually set up a farm toy display and competed in the national farm toy show in Dyersville, Iowa.
Amazing.
And a couple of the gentlemen from Minot that put the show on had asked us if we would consider bringing his farm toy display out to Minot. And after a couple of years and finally getting schedules worked out, we did that. And basically the conversation came up, why not have a toy show in Grand Forks? And that's kind of how it started. I've got a friend of mine, Mike Ratty, that's a retired combine tech from Titan Machinery. And he was looking for something to do as well. And I talked to my wife, and the three of us kind of sat down together and figured we'd get started. So we started. This is our fourth show. So when we got started, we kind of laid out a plan to have maybe 50 or 60 tables come. We contacted the Alerus Center because that looked like a good spot that we could host it. A lot of our vendors are older folks, and we needed somewhere without a lot of stairs that they could get in and get out easily.
Perfect.
So that's really the gist of how the idea came about. And we found a date that would work, and we thought March would work because a lot of the other shows were either in February or January. So we wanted to stay away from that. And we're all using the same vendors at our shows.
Right.
And we all work together. So it was a good way for us to team up and figure out another spot that we could go. In fact, there's been discussions about maybe a toy show starting in Bismarck as well. So we'll see. Another gentleman might be involved in that. So that first year, that was kind of our goal, see how it turned out. And I think we had like 65 tables. And then the last 2 years, we've been just around 100 tables or a little better than that. And last year, we started turning people away because we were running out of space.
Good problem to have.
Yeah, great problem to have. Not really knowing, how things would go and how it would take off. We just, we found out, well, this is something that's got merit and a lot of interest in it. So, and the neat part was we had a number of people that years ago when they were kids, they remember the toy shows in Oslo, the toy shows in Manville, and they came and said, hey, we really support you doing this. This is cool because this is something we haven't had around here in a long time. There actually was one in Grand Forks for a long time. I found out at the old Kmart Mall, and that gentleman,
really?
He passed away. And after that, it just and then when COVID came, of course, everything kind of got shut down. But there was a real interest in having a show for just interaction between people.
Like-minded people sharing a hobby.
Exactly. Awesome. And the one thing I love about this hobby is you've got kids that are excited about it. You've got their parents that are there. A lot of it is nostalgia. Like I remember when I was, so many of us are removed from the farm now, but they got farm connections.
Yep.
And this is one way that you can keep those connections. And then you got the grandparents coming. So you got all generations, and each one of them, this hobby means something to each one of them. One thing we've done that's a little different. So basically the way our toy show works is that we've got vendors that come, and those vendors would be selling merchandise. It could be clothing. It could be farm toys, of course. It could be literature, things that are tied around farming, the farming industry. We have another company that comes and makes steel signs, and they have a booth up. And then we've had a couple gals come as well that offer a little different product. The one gal has goat milk products that she offers there. So we still feel that she's part of the farming community. So we've invited her to come in, and having a show of that size with some variety is always a good thing as well. So that's the majority of it will be farm toy vendors that are selling their goods, and there's always some trading going on between the vendors and some buying. We've had people walk in with toys and ask vendors to buy from them. So we've seen that happen. And then we always have a few people that want to come and just display what they have.
Sure.
You know, and last year we were fortunate enough to have a gentleman come from out by Minot with a big Bud tractor display.
Nice.
And it was amazing how many big Bud toy tractors that he's got in his collection. And we've asked him to come back again this year, and he's contemplating if he'll make it or not. Like everybody, we're all busy,
Right.
and it doesn't always work out to do that. So we also had a gentleman from Moorhead that was building versatile tractors. So everything from steel frames all the way up to all the details, engines, cabs. I mean, you look at his toys, and I asked him how he got started in it, and for him it was kind of a labor of love. His wife had passed away, and he was looking for something to do as a pastime. But he'll stand there and he'll have it at the very kind of beginning with just the frame. So it's no different than a tractor factory,
Right.
where you're seeing every stage of how it gets produced. And he
Just
was
on a little miniature scale.
Yeah.
Which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he passed away in October. So his son called me and we talked about it, but he was just a wonderful man to have and stand there. Then we've got the latest and greatest, which would be your 3D printers.
Okay.
So there's always a couple people there, and the kids will just gather around and watch as they're making something. Sometimes they have a little trinket that they can take with them. So we've done that. NDSU has come and actually set up a table also outside, talking a little bit about the Department of Ag Engineering and student opportunities as well. And I've got a connection with them, so that's pretty cool that we set that up. So we've done a variety of different things, and we're trying to make that show kind of hit on different aspects.
For sure.
So one thing that this year we're going to add that we haven't had before is we're going to have an area, we call it a kids play area. We're planning to bring in basically like a swimming pool with corn in it, and the kids
Okay.
can get in, and we'll have some toys that they can play with, because always you see them come and they're excited and they walk around, and maybe 20 minutes or half an hour go, and then they're tugging on mom and dad. I'm tired. I want to go. So we thought this is a great way where they can go spend some energy, have some chairs lined up for mom and dad to take a break.
Keep people around a little bit longer.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's the hope. So that, and then we also have a few folks that have remote control. In this case, it's semi-tractors and a bulldozer, and we're going to have an area where they can actually get down and let them, basically it'll be a flagged off area, but they can drive them around and demonstrate, because they're sitting there on a table. But as any remote control toy, you want to get it down and see it move,
For sure.
and do its thing. So those are a couple new things that we're adding this year. We've always had farm toy displays. So my son always has his set up, and we've got a couple other folks that bring a farm toy display as well.
Is there judging
And-
for that? Is there?
No, we haven't. It's not been large enough yet to do that.
Sure.
We've just asked anyone that has a display if they want to bring it. They sure can. And so
Show it off.
Show
talk
it off.
about your
Yeah,
creation.
I mean, like if you think of model railroads, how many people do model railroads in their house and no one knows they're doing it?
Right.
It's almost like a closet hobby, right? And so this way you can actually bring your piece of plywood, have your buildings or your toy tractor set up on it, and people look around it, and we get a lot of young folks that ask questions about it. So we're telling their parents, listen, you can go to Menards and you can get a couple cans of spray paint, and we've used indoor-outdoor carpeting to lay it down and make it look like fields. You can do this without a lot of budget needs to do that. And a lot of folks are like, well, where did you get this? And where did you get that? And well, and sometimes buying stuff at a hobby store can be kind of expensive. And we've found different ways that we can use common goods to do things.
How do you get that information out to budding
So
hobbyists?
we have a Facebook page, and on our Facebook page, we've put different pictures.
Share those tips
and share those tips. I mean, that's one thing you can do. The Toy Farmer magazine always has areas in that magazine that talks about different ways that you can build displays. If you do a Google search for it, you'll find different individuals that are doing that. But that's kind of a way that we've shared it, and also, of course, to the people that come there and ask those questions.
It's
But
a great way to stay engaged, outside of promoting the show. And there's a whole year that you can be talking to people and being a resource for them as the Greater Grand Forks Farm Toy
exactly,
Show. That's great.
exactly, yeah. So we found it to be. We've been able to work with the Visitors Bureau, and they've helped support it. And obviously, we've brought people into town, and so it's good for the community of Grand Forks. To have those folks in town, and all the other things that come along between staying at hotels and eating at restaurants. It's beneficial to the whole community as well. So that's really, like I said, we started with 65 tables or so, and this year, right now, we're at about 120 booked,
That's awesome.
and we're
That is so
hoping,
cool.
yeah, we're hoping we get a few more here before the show gets started. We always have a few folks that send in the registration forms towards the tail end, and we know that, so we're planning for that, and just looking forward to it.
I'm going to ask towards the end here how people can find out about registering as a vendor, how to get tickets if there's tickets, how to learn more. We'll ask that in a sec. But before that, I want to just ask, you've seen some really great growth, and it's been fun to watch as we've talked since your first one.
Sure.
What does the future hold for the Greater Grand Forks Farm Toy Show?
Well, so if you know the layout of the Alerus Center, there's basically 5 ballrooms that you can use. And after you get large enough beyond the 5 ballrooms, then you got the main area where the football games and things are held.
Yep.
Will it ever be that size? I don't know. But if you look at Sioux Falls, they're the largest regional one, and they're like at 400 tables. And I mean, it's massive.
Look at your growth.
So-
You're a few years away from that if you keep the trajectory.
Well, I think there comes a point where we're probably gonna, maybe level off a little bit. But our thing is trying to figure out different ways that we can involve people.
100%.
And these younger kids, for instance, that might see farm tractors out in the field, they think they're cool. Maybe they don't have a lot of tie to it, but it's another way that we can get to that audience and get those kids excited about it. And I grew up basically playing outside in a sandbox and things like that, and I think it's so important that we get that generation, doing things like that and getting outside and using their imagination.
Right.
That's really what it's about. And then you've got the older generation that is collecting toys. It might be an investment for them. We know some folks that they buy several toys and they have a museum. And those toys can be hundreds of dollars sometimes,
Right.
So there's different levels of it. And I think what we've seen even at the national toy show is that the crowd still continues to be there. And obviously it over time, the younger generation grows up, and as long as we keep making an entry point for the younger ones to get in and figure this out, and that's what that's the future of the hobby, and I just enjoy it so much because I think back as a kid, I've pictures underneath the Christmas tree when I was 1 year old getting a combine in a box, and now I can still go out if I want to and buy that combine in a box that some collector maybe put away or put in. And so every time you do that, it brings, hopefully, for me anyways, it brings back good memories.
I don't think you're alone in that, Nate.
No, I don't think so either. So my cousins and I used to get together, and their dad built them a machine shed, and all these things that we did and just enjoyed our time together. And so the hobby has definitely changed. I mean, if you look at 3D printing, there's another gentleman that I know well that builds buildings for that, and so it's moving in that direction from a creativity standpoint, and yet we still have the people that use brass and solder things together, and their skills are just amazing. So there's all different ways to look at it, from collecting it to inventing it and creating it, and the people I think are world class that you're talking to, just genuine salt of the earth type people, and that's what I think I probably enjoy the most.
That's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Nate, you mentioned you're looking for maybe a few more tables to get filled. What's the best
Sure.
way for a
Sure.
vendor who's interested in getting on board to get a hold of you or just learn more on their own?
Sure. Probably the simplest thing from a social media standpoint is go to Facebook and go to the Grand Forks Farm Toy Show. You can find that, join our site there and learn information about it. A contact name would be Mike Ratty. Like I mentioned before, he's a partner with us. So on all of our flyers and information, we give Mike's name and and a phone number, and you can reach him at 218-791-5818. And Mike would be happy to answer any questions or help you out with that. If you have a student or even an older person that wants to bring a farm toy display, anything like that where you're just displaying your talent and what you've done, we don't charge for those tables.
Perfect.
The only tables we charge for are the folks that are there and have goods to sell.
Yep.
So that's another thing to keep in mind is it's not going to cost you anything to display a farm toy display, especially we just want to see them come there. So you just have the cost to get to the show.
Very cool. I'm assuming the information is similar to Facebook for people who want to attend.
Yep.
Remind us of the date. I don't think we've said
Sure.
the date,
Sure.
times, and I know we mentioned the Alerus, but
Yep, you bet. So our dates are going to be, so it's a Friday, Saturday show. That'd be March 28th and 29th. And that is going to be at the Alerus Center.
in Grand Forks.
In Grand Forks. And noon we start on Friday. So it runs from noon to 7. So if you got plans that weekend, like most people do, you're going to be out of town for hockey or you're going to be out of town for basketball, what have you, you can make it to the afternoon. We get a lot of people that come after work, after school, get a couple hours to go and then carry on with the weekend. Otherwise, on Saturday, it's open from 9 to 5. So Friday from noon to 7 p.m. and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
And folks can check out on Facebook and keep up to date with what's going on. And I'm sure there'll be some more updates between now and then.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Come to the page. We are also doing raffles. So every week we will start giving away different items that we either have donated. We do some merchandise for the show. So we give away some of that. So if you like our page and share it, then you'll get registered for the raffle.
Perfect. Well, Nate, thank you again for being here with us on the Agweek Podcast. It was great learning more about you and your passion for the hobby of farm toys. Great luck at the show. I hope you have a great turnout and fill out some more of those tables.
All right. Well, thanks a lot. Appreciate your time today.
You bet.